Good afternoon, and welcome everyone to our fourth and final class of Mindfulness Matters. Can't believe it's already been 4 weeks, but I appreciate everyone that has stuck with it for the duration of the program and are joining us for the last class here today, where we're going to talk about resiliency and setting some of those SMART goals that I discussed about creating some of the mindfulness strategies, implementing some of those mindfulness strategies in our lives by creating some SMART goals for ourselves. Before we get started, obviously, I love that everyone's interacting in chat. Please share with everyone if you're comfortable. We don't have to share any personal details. How the gratitude journal is going. Maybe some of you might have just written your letter of gratitude and would like to just share, maybe not the contents of it, but how it made you feel and how it made the other people feel. And if you're keeping up with that gratitude journal, I love to see it. Obviously, you don't have to share any personal information, but would love to hear any feedback if it's helped you at all, if you felt more grateful in your day to day because of it. So please use that chat function throughout. Would love to have some interaction from you guys as we continue through the program. So today we're really going to be talking about resiliency, setting those SMART goals, and what I mean by SMART goals when we try to set those. So when we look at today's class, the objectives are going to be to gain a better understanding of resiliency. So we talked about it a little bit in the first class, and we've touched on it throughout all the other classes, talking about how mindfulness can help us become more resilient. Remember, have that bounce back quality, not become overly reactive or overly emotional about the things around us. So we're going to look at applying some of those mindfulness strategies that we talked about to help build that resilience. So those are two things that are really going to help us when we try to set our SMART goals. So while we go through this class, I want you to think about all the strategies that we came up with throughout the program. So whether it's meditation, deep breathing, whether it's mindful walks or gratitude or mindful eating or any of that stuff, I want you to think about that and think about at least one or two things that you want to create a goal for yourself to carry with you beyond this program. So how you can implement those mindfulness strategies into your life, and the idea is so that it can enrich it for yourself as well. So we're going to be developing those SMART goals. That'll help us implement more mindfulness into our lives, and then that'll help us build our resiliency. And then lastly, we're going to talk about some of the resources that are available to you. Maybe you know some of these resources, maybe you don't, but I highly suggest utilizing them. They're going to be free resources available to you, including ourselves here in the Wellness Office. So I highly recommend staying tuned towards the end for that as well. All right. I love that a lot of you are keeping up with your gratitude journal. I'm glad it is helping. That is the whole idea behind this. You probably notice as you're keeping up with your gratitude journal, you notice little things that you're grateful for that you probably wouldn't have recognized otherwise without being present and fully aware of what's going on. I know even little simple things we can be grateful for that we may neglect because we're so busy and our mind's racing 24/7. We're always thinking about the next thing. So it's always good to stop and for a second and just take it all in. So as a reminder, what resiliency is, when I talk about resiliency, the American Psychological Association defines it as the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress. So remember, stressors can be internal or external. So when we talk about resiliency and building that resiliency and adapting well in those phases of adversity, it doesn't mean that resilient people do not face stress. It doesn't mean they don't face adversity or trauma or tragedy in their lives. It just means that they adapt better in it. So they're able to can become overly reactive. They're not overly emotional. They take it all in, and they're able to actually use some of the negative, so-called negative things in their life to build as building blocks to positive things. Okay, so remember that everyone faces these tragedies and stress in their lives. It may differ from person to person, but as you see, as one of the examples I'm going to show you of a resilient person, it happens even to professional athletes and these celebrities that we talk about. So I want to turn your attention to a gentleman named James Blake. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with that name, this is his story. He was an American tennis player. He began his career in the early 2000s, okay, and he was just coming out of Harvard University. He was talked about as the next big thing. There's a lot of buzz around him being the next American great. So was smart, he was fast, he was determined, he had everything going right for him, right? Everyone on tour called him one of the hardest workers. Even in practice, he's going 100%, full speed all the time. So they called him the hardest worker on tour. So it seemed to be trending in the right direction for him until June 2003. In June 2003, James Blake's father was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Now, for those of us that have good relationships with our parents or our fathers, James, that was his best friend, right? That was his coach, that was his mentor, that was his best friend. So in June 2003, he was just new on tour, and he found out that his father had stomach cancer. Now, his father didn't tell him right away. Being that who he was, he didn't even inform his wife at the time. He waited a few days before he told his wife and a few weeks before he told James, because he didn't want that to ruin James' initial start on the tennis tour. Okay, so in June 2003, he was given this information that his father was diagnosed with stomach cancer, and he only had about 1 to 2 years left to live. All right, so it's a tough situation, but his father was adamant that James continue his career. Continue, it's like, this is what we worked for. This is what you've worked so hard to do. This is your dream. Continue it. Don't let this stop you. Well, in May 2004, just about a little less than a year after he found out his father had cancer, he was practicing for a tournament. After a tournament, he had just lost in the first round in this tournament in Rome, Italy. And during his practice, he was playing with his practice partner that he normally plays with. He chased down a ball. It was a rainy day, so it had just finished raining, so the conditions were slick. It was a clay court, and he actually slipped on the court while he was chasing down a ball, and he went headfirst into the net post, so the metal stanchion that holds that net together, right? So across, and he went headfirst into it, and he broke his neck. Now, he had to lay on the court for over 30 minutes. They didn't want to move him, so they just put jackets over him as the rain was falling down on him before emergency workers were able to get him stabilized and get him out of there into the hospital. So he fought while he was at the hospital. He said, I'm a year past the day, almost to the day that my father was diagnosed with stomach cancer. He was only given 1 to 2 years to live, and here he is stuck in a hospital after breaking his neck. But the first thing he thought about was getting back home. How can I get back home to recover at home around my family, those that love me? So he fought tooth and nail with the doctors and the advice, and eventually he was finally able to be flown back over to the United States and recover at home with his family. Now, his father's condition was worsening, and he was slipping in and out of consciousness, but he told James Blake that he wanted to play in his comeback tournament. He was adamant that he was going to play in this tournament. Now, for anyone to break their neck is a big tragedy. It's a big source of basically a roadblock. But for a professional athlete, especially in tennis, breaking your neck is pretty severe. And he goes on to say that if he wouldn't have turned his head at the right second, just at the split second, just a little bit, he would have been paralyzed. So he was able to recover. And actually, a couple months later, he was going to his first tournament, right? On July 3rd, July 2nd, he played in his first tournament back. On July 3rd, he lost his father to cancer. So he won his first game back on July 2nd. And the next day, his father passed away from cancer. Okay, so he's obviously traumatized. He ended up leaving the tournament, went to the funeral, but he was a little skeptical to go back on tour. He didn't want to leave his mom at home while he's traveling the world and going to all these tournaments when he felt like his mother needed him. And then, so he said, all right, I'm just going to return to practice after a while, but something didn't feel right to James. Something wasn't right with his body. His ear and his head started to hurt. He went to the doctor what he thought was an ear infection, but over the next few days, the pain worsened and got worse and worse. He ended up waking up with a rash that covered the left side of his head and his face, and he couldn't move his mouth on his left side, unable to swallow. He couldn't blink on his own. And what they found out is he was diagnosed with shingles. He was so stressed out. He was facing so much on his plate, and he was stewing. And James is the type of guy, he says in his book, if any of you would like to read it, it's called Breaking Back. and it's How I Lost Everything and Won Back My Life. It's a great book. Talks a lot about adversity and the stuff that he had to go through. But he was the type of person that ruminated in negative self-talk. He used to always be down on himself after a loss. He couldn't sleep because he would just think and stress all the time. He was diagnosed with shingles right after his father's death, right after he just got back from his injury that where he broke his neck, and he still wasn't fully recovered from that. He went on to continue playing, and even so, even after that fact, being diagnosed with shingles, he says his vision still wasn't 100% when he went back on tour. But he did go back on tour, and in fact, in 2005, he won the tennis award for Comeback Player of the Year. So he ended up breaking his neck, being diagnosed with shingles, where one side of his face was paralyzed, and he ended up coming back and winning the Comeback Player of the Year award the next year. In addition to that, he lost his father to cancer. So he decided that he was going to make a point to appreciate every moment of every day, not to ruminate in his losses anymore, not to be stressed out by those types of things. Instead, appreciate all the good people in his life and all the good things in his life. And he turned that tragedy that he faced into a positive thing. In 2008, he won the Arthur Ashe Humanitarian of the Year award. He started numerous charities and charitable events. He started a charity in honor of his father that focuses on cancer research. So he turned some of these tragedies that he faced in his life, even a professional athlete, into some positive things, right? And they asked James, all this stuff that's happened to you, what do you have to say? I mean, what was going through your mind? And he said, the whole thing made me appreciate everything more. I get up in the morning and I look out and I can smile and see it as a nice day. I don't take that for granted anymore. I get less angry after a loss and I appreciate my good fortune more. I mean, that's what mindfulness is, right? It's taking in all that's around us, appreciating. If you remember the TED talk from the first class, it's valuing the moment, right? So he appreciates all the good things in his life more, even in the face of tragedy. So they asked him, yeah, but if you could take back breaking your neck, would you do it? And he said, the luckiest thing to happen to me was breaking my neck. And if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't be upset at all about it. The luckiest thing, I mean, how often do you hear someone say that? The luckiest thing that happened to me was an injury, a severe injury at that. But that severe injury allowed him to spend the final weeks of his dad's life with him and be around his family and be around the loved ones that he needed. He wasn't across the world away from his father when it happened. So he looked at the positive, even in one of the most negative things in his life. So the idea here is remember that yes, negative things do happen, but remember that let's not get overly emotional or overly reactive when that happens. Let's not let it stress us. Let's try to use it and adapt better in the faces of those adversities. So that's what we're really going to be talking about today is learning about making some of those SMART goals and how you can set goals for yourself so you can create some more and build up some more resiliency. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that a lot of this content that you'll be seeing in this later slides come from with the help of Dr. Dave Cheshire and the CHAMP Center. And you'll hear about the CHAMP Center and what it is if you're unfamiliar with it at the end of the program. So that is one of the resources that will be available to you as for my Jacksonville folks. So please stay tuned for that as well. We talk about setting SMART goals. These are the goals that are reachable, something that's worth making. So if they're not attainable, remember setting those lofty expectations for ourselves. That can be a significant source of stress. So when we're setting SMART goals, we want to set something that is reachable, because if they're not reachable, they aren't worth making. If you set an unreachable goal or unattainable goal, you're just going to be let down and stressed when you don't reach it, right? Not everyone's perfect. You're not perfect. So you got to remember it's not that all or nothing attitude. So remember, set reachable goals and make them realistic. So we'll go through what I mean by that. So the first thing is S, and that's specific. So what goals do you want to accomplish? Specifically, what goals do you want to accomplish? A bad idea of a SMART goal and not specific enough is I want to lose weight. Well, that's great. I mean, you could want to lose weight when, where, how. or by when, So that an example of more specific and better would be, I want to lose 10 pounds by June 1st. So we talk about mindfulness. I don't want you to just say, I want to meditate. I want to meditate more. Well, if you were meditating 0 before, if you meditate once, you're already meditating more. Is that the goal that you think you should set for yourself? So maybe it'd be, I want to meditate to make excuses for ourselves. Like for example, I tell myself that I want to become fluent in another language. Um, I didn't set a timeline for it. I wasn't very specific on what language. I used to be fluent in Italian and I know conversational Spanish, but by not setting anything more specific or anything time bound or anything like that, I just keep saying, oh, well, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. So let's be more specific in our goal setting. And I think that'll help us achieve some of these SMART goals that we lay out for ourselves. Right. All right. So the next one is measurable. So that's the M in SMART goals. And this is basically your evaluation tool. So if it isn't measurable, you can't really judge whether or not you completed the task, right? Or if you completed your goal. So an example here, a bad example of a measurable goal is, I want to run the Gate River Run faster. Okay, so that isn't a good goal, right? So that while it seems like, okay, it's the Gate River Run, that's specific enough, but faster. Okay, is it 1 second faster? Is it 2 minutes faster? What is it? So idea here is, I want to improve my mile time by 30 seconds. You're measurable. So at the end of the race, you can say, okay, did I have my mile time did I beat it by 30 seconds? And that also helps you with your training and you're working your steps up towards that goal, right? So if you, for instance, it's meditation that you want to do. You want to meditate. Let's say you want to meditate once a day for 5 minutes, but by the end of June, you want to have it up to 10 minutes a day, right? So you can start using those stepping stones. And by May or by June, when you finish, are you up to 10 minutes a day? All right. So it should be something that's measurable and you can be evaluated when you're finished with it. Also, they should be attainable. So goals are something that are within reaching. So for my Jags fans out there, which one of these statements is more realistic for the Jags? The Jags will win the Super Bowl next season, or they'll have at least 6 wins. Now, I am a Clemson University alum, so I am excited that Trevor Lawrence may be coming to Jacksonville. But is it realistic that they go from the very worst team in the league to the best in 1 year? Probably not. Now, the Jags could set that goal, and I think most NFL teams their goal is to win the Super Bowl. But realistically, the Jags probably will not win the Super Bowl next year. And that doesn't mean they shouldn't aim for that, but their goal should be up to more realistic standards. So getting up to 6 wins, that would be a lot better than last season. But they did get the first pick. So now relevant, that's your R. So this should be something that's relevant to you and your lifestyle. So which goal is better for a nurse? Is it goal to climb Mount Everest or to treat all the patients as if they were members of their own family? Now, that doesn't mean a nurse's goal cannot be to climb Mount Everest. That's not the idea here. You could have your personal goals, but when we talk about mindfulness strategies in particular, which mindfulness strategies will most be relevant to you and what will most impact your life? So whether it's mindful eating, for instance, maybe you set a goal as part of your mindful eating, you're used to eating in front of a TV screen. So your mindful eating will be for the next 2 months. I'm not going to eat my meals in front of a screen, be it phone, TV, computer, whatever, and actually stay to that goal, right? That mindful eating where we overeat, and I'm guilty of it, where we just mindlessly eat, right? We don't even know. John did a great job of describing how we just shovel chips or Cheez-Its or whatever, Oreos into our mouths, and by the end of episode of The Office, it's all gone, and we didn't even realize that we're eating that much, right? So maybe it's a mindful eating goal that you can have. The goals should also be time bound. So they shouldn't be endless, like my ability or my desire to learn another language fluently. They should actually have a deadline. So your goal is not unending, right? You don't keep making existence or excuses and pushing it off and pushing it off. It's something that will have a deadline for you, so you can have it measurable and evaluated at that deadline. So an example here of a bad one is my goal is to publish a research article. It's a great goal to have if that's one of your goals, but research article by when? But for the rest of your life, you only want to do one and then you just keep putting it off? No. So your goal is to submit an article for publication by November 2021. Okay, so remember, having that time bound not only helps us have a goal, like a end goal in sight, right? But it also gives us that evaluation period, so we know by that time and how much time we have to plan for this goal, and it's easier to make those steps in our goal easier if we have an end date in sight. So when we talk about setting mindfulness goals and SMART goals for that, we really need to monitor our self-talk and relax when we talk about our goals. So I know I said you should be able to evaluate, you stick to those SMART goal strategies, but also remember that negative self-talk that I mentioned that we usually give ourselves, and we're always down on ourselves and if I fail, I'm just going to fail. Why do I even try? So you got to monitor that. You got to be encouraging to yourself. Just like James Blake said, he used to stew after losses and think why he wasn't good enough. And he couldn't believe it. And he couldn't sleep because of it. He was so stressed out about everything. And then he just took a step back, relaxed, and started being encouraging of himself. I love that I have all these people. I'm grateful for all these people in my life. I'm grateful for the sun shining, that I can feel, that I can walk, that all these types of things that he was grateful for after the face of tragedy. So remember, monitoring our self-talk, our negative self-talk, being more positive to ourselves, and just take a moment to relax. I know we get stressed out, but mindfulness should not be stressful. It should be the exact opposite. Use assertive words, especially when you're talking about when you're thinking to yourself and thinking about your goals. Instead of saying, "Oh, I hope to," or "I'll try," or "I wish I could," or "I might," think instead of saying, "I'm going to," "I will," "I want to," "I can." So instead of saying, "Oh, I hope to meditate more," at least 10 minutes a day, "I hope to," or "I'll try to." You're already setting yourself up for failure, right? So you're going to say, "I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes a day, up until I get up to 10 minutes a day at June 1st, or I will do this, or I want to, I can." All those positive affirmations that we give ourselves can actually help us, because when we're so down and negative, it tends to be a snowball effect, right? Once we start thinking something negative about our goals or something negative that's going on in our lives, it seems to be the snowball effect, and we just start ruminating in negative thoughts. And we don't want to do that. We want to avoid doing that and try to stick to the present moment and be positive in it. So change your words. So when we say, "I don't want to get fat," or "I hope I don't mess this up," or "I must not fail this test," what our brain actually hears is fat, mess this up, fail. So their brain is hearing the negative when we talk negatively to ourselves. I hope I don't want to get fat. I hope I don't mess this up. I don't want to fail this test. For those of you that remember taking a test, or for some of you that still are taking tests, you go in that attitude. It's like, "Oh man, I feel like I'm going to fail this test." You already have that negative attitude. You don't have that positive. You're already stressed, so you're not thinking as clearly. So remember, address those. So instead of saying things like that, what we want to say is, "I'm going to get slim and healthy. I want to do a good job. I'm going to pass this test." So when we say things like that in a more positive manner, our brain hears slim and healthy, good job, pass this test. So when we think about mindfulness and things that we want to do and achieve our goals for mindfulness strategies, think about the things that are going to be positive. How can we monitor our positive, be more positive to ourselves, right? Reframe our thoughts. And you'll see that when we talk about um, Albert Ellis. So he was an American psychologist that came up with these irrational beliefs. And his idea was that a large number of our psychological problems are due to patterns of irrational thoughts. So he focused his theory on the idea that people are not changed by the facts, but by what they think about the facts. So we are able to change our mental, thought process, our patterns of thinking. We'll actually be able to create less emotional states of pain and suffering and things that are more consistent with reality instead of that pain and suffering and all that turmoil. So you'll see listed on some of the screens some of those irrational beliefs that he talked about. The idea that everyone must love me. There can't be anyone that dislikes me. If there's someone that dislikes me, I can't sleep at night. Or if I'm not perfect, I'm worthless. Or it's awful when things go wrong. Or I have no control over my emotions. You change your thoughts, you can change your life. So you see the idea here behind Ellis's irrational beliefs. Are a lot of them have this theme of need to always be perfect, that all or nothing attitude, or it's my way or the highway. And the idea here is not to have these irrational beliefs. We worry and then we worry that we worry and then we're worried that we worry that we're worrying. So it's this vicious cycle basically of irrational thoughts that we have. And it makes us stress and it turns our life into more negative. So we want to become more positive. And be good to yourself too. You can't take care of someone else unless you take care of yourself first. So the first thing is relax. Find something each day that you do that you can do, whether it be a hobby, whether it be physical activity, it could be cooking, it could be reading, journaling, anything that you do. Find something that is for you that you like doing that is something fun for you and it'll help you relax. You should have something each day that you're able to do that'll help you relax and take time for yourself. Stay healthy. Go for that walk. Maybe not today. It's a little rainy today, but it would be great if I wonder if any of you went out for a mindful walk this past weekend with the beautiful weather. So, stay hydrated too while you go out. Exercise. We talk about mindfulness being this whole health, whole body concept, and eat well. So the dietary habits about mindful eating, all these ideas can help us create a better us, but more well-rounded as well. And you heard me talk about social support. So connect to others. We talked about being grateful. So that letter of gratitude is nothing preventing you from sharing that with someone all the time, right? Maybe not every day. You don't have to write a letter, but be more grateful day to day. Talk to your coworkers, talk to your friends, talk to your family. Tell them how much you mean to them and how much they mean to you, and maybe something they did in particular. You could be specific in it, and you'll see that gratitude especially is contagious. And you'll see that as you become more generous, you notice more things that you're grateful for. And I think that a lot of us, and especially in this world, we need a lot more gratitude. So have that, spread that gratitude out, and enjoy life. Take pleasure in being part of that solution, right? So you want to enjoy it. The whole idea here is to become more positive, enjoy our lives, even through tragedy, triumph, and stress. I mean, whatever comes our way, we will be able to face it. Oh, sorry about that. So what I want you to do now is create your own SMART goal. So I want you to choose something specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. And remember that we're here to help. So if don't be shy, that is our job. We are here to help you all. So if our the wellness inbox email is there, as well as the phone number. If you want one-on-one coaching, you need help creating a SMART goal, my personal email is down there below. So if you want to reach out to me directly, I'd be more than happy to help. Or if you just want to talk to me about anything, if you come, a month down the road and you want to tell me about your gratitude journal that you're still keeping up with, I'd love that. I'd love to hear back from you and see how you've been instituting more mindfulness strategies, or if you need help creating any mindfulness strategies or goals. We're here to help. And I'm sure John, our dietitian, would be more than happy to help you with mindful eating strategies if it's something specific to that, or a dietary. So we're available for you for health coaching, but also in creating some of these SMART goals, or if you just want to talk about the goals, we can be that social support for you as well. some of the resources we have available. And I actually have, for our Jacksonville folks, we have the Champ Center. If you're unfamiliar with that, we actually have Tammy Bellamy here, who's the manager over at the Champ Center. And I'm going to pass it on to her just to talk about what they have available and the resources they have available to you. So Tammy, if you're there, you can take over.
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Again, like Nick said, I am Tammy Bellamy. I'm the office manager here at the Champ Center. And I like to think of us as a mental well-being spa, because when you say, oh, you're going to go to the Champ Center, for counseling, therapy, most people have that stigma. Oh, something's wrong with me, or, am I crazy? No, we are a spa. Once you come in one way, leave out a different way. You're like rejuvenated, and so we give that kind of feel. We never want you to think that something is wrong with you. We offer tips and things to help you thrive in the workplace and at home. You can take what we give to you to use on both spectrums. That's why it's a mental well-being. We help you to balance out work life. Also with Champ, we do have 3 phenomenal therapists. We have Dr. David Cheshire. He's our director here. He's our psychologist. We have 2 licensed behavior therapists, Rosalind Graham and Donna Ragucci. Both are terrific. So when you call, I will ask you, hey, do you prefer a male or female? So kind of expect that, because I know sometimes when I ask people, they're like, what are you talking about? So I will ask those questions. Again, we do offer group therapy as well. That's been a hit here recently. We just kind of started it. So we offer that. So if you're in a group setting where, you're not getting along so well with your, people you work with, then we can offer conflict resolution. So that is an offer to you. We also do a number of different things. So if it's something that you feel like we may need to offer, shoot me an email or the Champ email, which is champ@jax.ufl.edu. We'll be glad to, research that and kind of help gain some clarity on that. We do have the peer support groups, which we have different people in different areas of the campus that have went through a trained session to help say, like, if you're, I don't know, on a nursing floor and you couldn't readily get to us, we have someone, a nurse that may be able to facilitate, hey, I'm having a bad day today, I just need somebody to talk to. That's what the peer support network does. Now, if they can't handle it and they feel that, you may very well need to come here to us, then they'll send an email to us and we'll reach out to you. Another great thing about us, we do not use Epic at all. Funny thing is, when I went to do the vaccines and I had to get on Epic, it's been probably 2 years since I've been on Epic, and I'm like, what in the world is this? But hats off to you guys that use Epic. We don't use Epic. It does not go into your personal file. We do not discuss the reason why you're here with anybody. So if your boss calls and say, hey, did John Boyd, did he come? We're not going to discuss that with him. So that's one of the reasons why we're so confidential, because like I said in the beginning, there is a stigma behind coming to get counseling. So we try to, work with the employees on that. Now, for managers, if you have someone that you feel needs to come to our service, but they are reluctant to do so, you can mandate them to come, at least 6 sessions with us. But that will be, we would need to discuss that with Dr. Cheshire, so we can set up something there. And that is the only time that we will discuss, you know, if the person had come. We don't discuss the specifics, but we will say, hey, your employee did come to us at such date, but the specifics of it, we do not. And they will have to sign their release form and all that good stuff. So we do kind of monitor that. I think that is it for us. Our telephone number is 244-8332. Our email address is champ, CHAMP, @jax.ufl.edu. And again, we'll be glad to service each and every one of you. We only service employees only. So if it's a like a spouse type thing, both spouses have to be working with us, and in order for us to service the both. So it can be one spouse works here and the other doesn't. It doesn't work like that. So we do have the EAP for that. So if there's any questions for me or any thing else I can share that I left off, please put it in the chat box. And I think that's it for me.
All right. Well, thank you, Tammy. Tammy does such a great job over there, and everyone at the Champ Center does a fantastic job. We actually, they're in the Wellness Center with us in a separate part, so they're fantastic to be a part of. Like I said, their services are great. I highly recommend any type of counseling. I myself have gone through it, and I love it, and I would recommend it to anyone. Like Tammy said, there's this stigma behind it, but really we got to get past that. So that is one of the resources available. It's highly personable. Like I said, everyone's very, very relatable, and you can talk to them down to earth. So great people over there at the Champ Center. You also, for our Jacksonville folks, you have guidance resources. That's our EAP. There's their number and their website. For Gainesville folks, you'll have to talk with your specific HRs with your specific EAP options available. But for any Gator Care members, Talkspace is available. So you have to be with Gator Care, but that's that online therapy. They can text, they can online chat, email back and forth with you. So all of those options are available to you. So please definitely utilize those if you feel so. And don't forget that I do want you, if you feel like it, to please keep up with that gratitude journal. I do think you reap the benefits, even keeping it going, especially after, we've only been doing it for about 3-4 weeks now. So if you can keep it up even after that, that's great. You only keep reaping those benefits of being grateful and being mindful throughout each day. Remember to be present in each moment. Use some of those mindfulness strategies that we talked about throughout this program. Remember that you need to complete your post-class assessment. On the couple of slides in the future, I'll show you the little QR codes that you can scan. You also answer a post-program survey, and then utilize those resources that are available to you. Please do. I mean, they're there for you for free. They're confidential. They're very, 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 I think they're underutilized, and they're very good at what they do. But also, if you want to reach out to us, anyone in wellness, please do so as well. We'd be happy to help. And when we talk about, just to touch on those program requirements, remember that if you registered for this program, you completed that pre-survey, so you've done that. You'll complete the post-survey, which will have some of those same questions that you saw in the pre-survey. It is anonymous. So there's not going to be your name associated with that, but please fill that out. That helps us. And they you had to complete each post-class assessment. So there's 4 of those. You have 2 surveys. So you had the pre-survey and the post-survey, and you have 4 post-class assessments. Now those assessments, if you missed any of them, they are available online on demand, and the assessment link is underneath each video. So, you can either, if you have access to the bridge, you will be able to access them there on the wellness website. For those of you that don't have access to the bridge, the on-demand, we're working on getting it on the Gator Care website after this one's finished and recorded and uploaded. They'll be uploaded in a group to the Gator Care website as well. And yes, And as John pointed out, you do not have to share your gratitude journal entries or anything like that. That's personal to you. I just want you to, I'd love for you to keep it going. And so for our assessments, remember the assessment is your attendance for each class. So that's on the left-hand side of your screen right there. And then the post-program survey is on the right-hand side of the screen. We will share these links out in an email with a copy of the presentation. So you do not have to answer them now. So if you want to wait till that email goes out, you're more than welcome to. Remember, the post-program survey is anonymous, so you could please share any feedback that you think that could help us improve the program, or what you thought of the program, if it helped. Anything would be welcome. And remember to complete that assessment for your attendance, because each of those assessments counts as your attendance for the class. So if you completed all those tasks and you are a Jacksonville Gator Care member, remember this class will get you 100 points towards your wellness credit. For our Gainesville Gator Care folks or Gainesville wellness folks that have this is a rewardable activity, you should be able to self-report it. I think it's going to be for 50 points, but you want to check with your Gator Care wellness representative to double check that. So we're going to hang around if there are any other questions. If you want to reach out about setting up one-on-one coaching or anything like that, or just want to chat, you can do so here now or shoot me an email, but we'll hang around for a little bit. I do thank you and thank everyone for joining us this program. I hope you're able to take something away from it, something that you can use in your day-to-day lives, and I hope you found something special to take with you. So thank you all for joining us again, and look forward to seeing you all in the future.